You say you want to rise. You say you want to be powerful, untouchable, feared and respected. You say you want the throne, the money, the legacy. But tell me something first. Can you kneel? Can you drop to your knees, not in front of man, but in front of the brutal truth that you are not self-made? You think you forged yourself in fire. But let me tell you what that fire really was. It was the broken hand that helped you when no one else would. It was the silence of those who could have exposed your flaws and chose not to. It was the patience of those who waited for you to grow when you were still clumsy, weak, and full of excuses. You didn't do this alone. And if you believe you did, then you've already fallen. Because the arrogance of the strong is the bait the abyss uses to drag you back into the dirt. There's a sickness that comes with climbing high. A twisted voice that says, I am better. I am above. It's subtle at first. It whispers when you pass a beggar, when you hear someone speak from a place of ignorance, when you watch someone fumble with the very things you've mastered. And that voice, it flatters you. It strokes your ego. It tells you the lie you want to believe, that you're superior. But what it's really doing is unlocking the door to your destruction. Because the higher you go, the more brittle you become. If you forget what's beneath you. Humility is not a gesture. It's not a forced smile. It's not fake modesty. It's a wound you choose to leave open. A reminder that your power is not infinite, that your success is borrowed, that your path was lit by hands you didn't see. Let me make it clearer. When you judge a man, you better damn well remember the moments you weren't caught, the sins that no one saw, the failures you hid, the addictions you masked, the tears you wiped away when no one was looking. You are not a god. You are a survivor. And survivors owe the battlefield, not just the victory. So when you see someone stumble, don't raise your voice in condemnation. Raise your memory. Because there was a time, don't lie, when you were crawling, when you were begging for just one shot, when you were screaming into the void, why me? And you were handed a chance. Maybe it came as a mentor, maybe as a book, maybe as an enemy that forced you to grow. But it came. And if you can't bow to that, if you can't hold that moment sacred, then every step forward you take is a step closer to your undoing. Let me tell you what true humility looks like. It's waking up every day knowing the house you live in could collapse tomorrow. It's making peace with the fact that no one owes you anything. Not their time, not their loyalty, not their forgiveness. It's walking through life with your chin high, not in arrogance, but in honor, because you've chosen to serve, not to gloat. It's standing in front of your team, your peers, your family, and saying, I don't have all the answers. I've failed more than I'd like to admit. And if I ever forget where I came from, you have permission to remind me. That kind of honesty will either burn your pride to ash or set your soul on fire. Let me be blunt. The ones who rise and stay risen, the ones who dominate not just in power, but in presence, are the ones who kneel more than anyone else. They kneel in reflection. They kneel in gratitude. They kneel in the battlefield of the mind, whispering, I will not become the monster I once ran from. And do you want to know what makes them invincible? They remember. They remember the betrayal, the hunger, the isolation, the hell they crawled through. They remember that success without humility is just ego on a leash. And eventually, that leash snaps. So here's your mirror. Look into it. Strip away the titles, the awards, the admiration. Strip away the bravado, the curated identity, the applause. And what do you see? Do you see a man who honors the journey? Or a pretender living on borrowed time? Do you see someone who uplifts others from the trench? Or someone who cuts the rope to feel taller? Be honest. Because the universe will be. The law of life is simple. You cannot hold more than you're prepared to serve. And the moment you forget to serve, the moment you crown yourself as the architect of your own greatness, that's the moment your foundation begins to rot. You want power? Then learn this. The throne belongs to those who bow, not to people, but to truth, not to systems, but to principle, not to pride, but to purpose. And humility? It isn't weakness. It's the final, most brutal form of strength. It's knowing you could crush someone and choosing not to. It's knowing you could glorify yourself and choosing instead to give credit. It's knowing that everything you have could vanish overnight and still moving forward with gratitude, not fear. Because when your power is built on humility, no one can destroy it. Not slander, not betrayal, not even failure. You remain rooted, you remain real, and you remain dangerous. So choose your fuel wisely, because pride burns fast and ends in ashes. But humility, that fire never dies. Let's get brutal for a moment. If you're not going the extra mile, you're already replaceable. You're already forgettable. You're already weak. And don't feed yourself the lie that someday you'll start. There is no someday. There is now. And now is the only battlefield that matters. You don't build power by thinking about the second mile. You build it by bleeding on it. You build it by living on it. You build it by becoming addicted to doing what others refuse to do. Let them mock you. Let them call you obsessive. Let them call you too much. Because while they're sleeping in, you're climbing unseen. While they're cutting corners, you're forging a foundation they can't even imagine. While they're waiting to be rewarded, you're becoming the kind of person life has to reward. You want the keys to the kingdom? The second mile is the lock. You want to build a legacy no storm can shake? Then carve it in silence. Carve it in sweat. Carve it with discipline. You want to win? Then start doing what the cowards won't, what the selfish won't, what the weak won't, what the average can't even comprehend. And when the dust settles, when the herd thins out, and only the obsessed are still standing, they'll look around and see you, alone, silent, unbeaten, carved by the second mile, and ready to lead. Because while most never even took the first step, you went farther, harder, and without applause. And that is why you'll never be ordinary again. There's a law that doesn't sleep. It doesn't bend. It doesn't care who you are, what you believe, or what mask you wear. It watches, it waits, and then it strikes, exactly when you least expect it. This law is older than your bloodline, older than your excuses, older than civilization itself. It is the law of increasing returns, and it will repay you, whether you like it or not. Every thought you've whispered into the dark, every action you've taken in secret, every moment you gave or stole, it's all recorded. You thought no one saw it? The universe did. And it wasn't just watching, it was multiplying. You give pain, you get pain. You give effort, you get opportunity. You give indifference, you get decay. And when it comes back, it never returns as it was. It comes back bigger, heavier, faster. like a freight train to your soul. This is not superstition. This is nature's math. Plant one seed, and you don't get one seed back. You get a tree, a harvest, a forest, a force. But plant poison, you don't just get a bitter taste. You get a life that rots from the inside out. This law doesn't miss. It doesn't forget. And it never comes back empty-handed. So what are you feeding the soil of your life? What are you pouring into your days? Because the clock is always ticking, and the harvest is always on its way. You wake up late, slack off, cut corners, lie, cheat, delay, complain. Fine. The law doesn't care. It'll still reward you. With stagnation, with regret, with a life that feels like slow death. But if you show up, bleed, train, give more than you take, speak truth when it costs you, serve when no one thanks you, then the law will still reward you. With peace, with power, with favor from places you didn't even know existed. But let's make something clear. The reward is not immediate. It's not fast. This law is not your vending machine. It's your crucible. It wants to see what you're made of. It wants to test your patience. It wants to know if you're willing to sweat for something that doesn't clap when you arrive. And this is where the weak fall. They plant once and demand fruit. They give half and expect full. They cry because the return didn't come in their timeline. But the strong, they plant anyway. They bleed anyway. They grind anyway. And they know the return is coming because it must. That's the law. You want a new life? Then feed the law. Put in so much good that the universe chokes on it. Serve so hard they can't look away. Give so much value that time itself bows to your discipline. And keep doing it before the world notices, before you're paid, before it makes sense. Because by the time they start asking how you did it, it'll be too late for them. You'll already be too far gone, risen, respected, untouchable. And the only answer will be, I obeyed the law, even when it hurt. But here's the final warning. You don't get to choose if the law works. You only choose which seeds you plant. You only choose what you give. Give nothing, you get less. Give pain, you get suffering. Give greatness, you get legacy. It all comes back, multiplied, magnified, brutal in its precision. So stop whining, stop waiting, stop wondering why your life looks the way it does. You built it, you planted this. But if you don't like the harvest, then change the seed. Because the law is watching, and it's not judging, it's not hating, it's just returning exactly what you gave. And you better be ready, because when it does, it never misses. So sharpen it. Your attitude is not decoration, it is a weapon, and it must be trained. Wake up with war in your heart and gratitude on your lips. Look adversity in the eyes and say, thank you for the chance to prove myself again. Refuse to fold when the day disrespects you. Refuse to sink when no one acknowledges your effort. Refuse to match the mediocrity around you. Stand above it, not with arrogance, but with silent dominance. Because a man who controls his attitude, who masters his presence, no matter how heavy the day, is a man who cannot be broken. Remember this, skills can be taught, experience can be gained, but your attitude, that's the soil everything grows from. Rotten soil doesn't care what seed you plant. It kills potential on contact. But rich, disciplined, focused soil, it multiplies everything it touches. So if you're wondering why you're stuck, why you're overlooked, why doors remain closed, stop asking what you're missing out there and start fixing what's in here. Because your power was never in your hands. It was always in your heart. And if that heart is laced with honor, gratitude, intensity, and a refusal to quit, then there's no room you can't dominate, no future you can't create, and no fate you can't bend. Not because you had the best skills, but because you had the only thing that truly matters. A mind that refused to be poisoned, an attitude that refused to die, a soul that never stopped shining. That's the real edge. And the rest, they'll never see it coming. There's a reason why most people stay weak. It's not because they lack time. It's not because they lack skill. It's not because they lack resources. It's because they don't give when they're not required to. They do the minimum, just enough to survive, just enough to avoid being noticed for the wrong reasons. But the real power, the real transformation, that only begins when you step past that invisible line, the one labeled enough. It's in the place where most people stop, where their excuses start to scream, where their effort dies and their apathy begins. That's where you begin. Because what you don't realize is this: every act of extra service is not just building your future, it's sculpting your soul. The world talks about transformation like it's some mystical moment, some secret code, some breakthrough found in a book or a pill or a seminar. But real transformation is ugly. It's repetitive. It's mundane. It's found in those moments when you show up and go hard, even when no one is clapping. It's found in that second wind when your body is exhausted, your mind is numb, and your heart whispers, "Keep going." This is where the growth happens. Because you weren't made for applause. You were made for the grind. And the grind doesn't reward the ones who only do what's required. It rewards the ones who give what no one asked for. That extra email you send, that extra hour you spend, that extra smile when you don't feel like smiling, that extra hand extended when you don't owe them anything. It changes something in you, something invisible but permanent. And while the world sees nothing, the war inside you shifts. A new layer of strength is formed. A new version of you emerges, one that's sharper, wiser, more resilient. You won't notice it at first, because it doesn't feel like growth. It feels like pain. But that's how you know it's real. True growth never feels like glory. It feels like being torn open and rebuilt from the inside out. And that rebuilding happens only through giving, through service, through going beyond the line that says, stop. You see, most people think growth is an external game. More books, more mentors, more tools. But the hidden truth is this: growth is internal surgery, and your scalpel is selfless effort. Every time you choose to give more, you cut away weakness. You remove layers of laziness, entitlement, and ego. You bleed out comfort. And in its place, you grow something stronger, something cleaner, something unshakable. You want confidence? Serve. You want strength? Serve. You want clarity, power, purpose, peace of mind? Serve. Not because someone told you to, not because someone's watching, not because you'll get a pat on the back. Serve because that is how you earn your growth. That is how you remind the universe, I am not here to take. I am here to give. I am here to lead. I am here to become more. And when you give like that, consistently, deliberately, and without needing recognition, your entire identity begins to shift. Soon people start to ask, what changed in you? And the answer isn't obvious, because you didn't grow louder. You grew deeper. Your presence got heavier. Your movements got sharper. Your silence started to carry more weight than most people's words. That's what happens when you live beyond obligation. That's what happens when you give when no one's looking. That's what happens when your motivation isn't greed, it's growth. And no one can fake that. No one can teach that. You can only become that through pain, repetition, and ruthless commitment to service. So now ask yourself, do you want to just be better at what you do? Or do you want to become unrecognizable from who you once were? Because if it's the second, if you want the kind of evolution that makes people pause when you enter a room, if you want the kind of power that doesn't need to be spoken, only felt, then your path is clear. Go farther. Stay longer. Give more. Not because it's easy, not because it's fair, not because it's expected, but because you've decided that every drop of sweat you pour into your service isn't just building your results, it's reshaping your destiny. The world will catch up eventually, but you've already outgrown it, because the man or woman who serves beyond what they're paid for is already being paid in ways this world can't measure. You just don't see the reward yet. But when it comes, it will be bigger than anything you could have imagined. And you'll realize it wasn't about what you got. It was about who you became. And that was worth everything. You've hit the wall. You've tried everything. You've prayed, you've pushed, you've bled, and still, nothing. The door won't open. The answer won't come. The way forward is fogged in confusion, wrapped in silence, sealed by something you can't name. You sit there, desperate, waiting for a sign, waiting for someone to help you. But the brutal truth, the help you need, is the help you give. When your life is stuck, when the ceiling won't break, when every solution you reach for turns to dust, that's not punishment. It's a signal, a message carved into the chaos itself. Stop obsessing over yourself. Go serve someone else. Because the truth is, the answers aren't found in the mirror. They're found in the battlefield. And someone else out there is bleeding harder than you, crying deeper than you, drowning faster than you. Find them, help them, and watch what happens to your own storm. You don't understand the power of this yet. Most people never will. They believe life is a scoreboard. Me versus the world. Get yours. Defend your corner. Take more. But here's the paradox that shatters every ego. When you lift someone else's burden, your own begins to crumble. That heavy fog in your mind, that agony of confusion, that weight of indecision and fear, it breaks when you stop thinking about it. And you stop thinking about it when you give. This isn't some feel-good philosophy. This is war strategy. This is survival. You are not the center of the universe. And the more you believe you are, the more trapped you become inside your own madness. Your mind becomes a prison, a cage built from obsessive thoughts, self-pity, and over-analysis. The only escape? Open the damn door and walk into someone else's suffering. Give, without expecting. Serve, without reward. Light someone else's darkness. And when you do, something ancient and savage unlocks in your brain. You've been lied to. They told you that confidence comes from praise, from admiration, from stacking achievements and watching the world applaud. But here's the truth most will never face. You don't build real confidence from being seen. You build it from serving in the dark. Let me tell you what real strength is made of. It's not born on stages. It's not crowned in ceremonies. It's carved, alone, through acts no one witnesses. And those who understand this, they never have to fake confidence again, because they know something most don't. That self-respect is the real fuel of power. And nothing builds self-respect like showing up for others when no one's watching and you're not expected to. You want to feel powerful again? Not fake strong, not arrogant, but quietly, ruthlessly powerful? Then start giving more. Start doing more. Start helping more. And not when it's convenient. Not when you feel like it. Not when it serves your image. Do it when your energy's drained. Do it when the world forgets your name. Do it when it doesn't make sense. Because that is where true character is born. The warrior doesn't need a reason to serve. They serve because it's who they've become. You want to silence that voice in your head? The one that whispers, "You're not enough. You're falling behind. You're still not where you want to be." Then stop trying to impress people and start impacting them. Because that voice doesn't shut up with compliments. It shuts up when you know, deep in your chest, that someone else's life is better because you showed up. You helped. You gave. You didn't just exist. You mattered. And that feeling, it doesn't fade. It doesn't lie. It builds layer by layer, day by day, like armor around your soul. Look around. Most people are addicted to validation. They're starving for attention, likes, comments, applause. But you don't need any of it when you serve from the shadows. Because every time you give without being asked, every time you do more than you're paid for, every time you stand tall when it would be easier to walk away, you get stronger. Not in the eyes of the world, but in the eyes of the one person who matters most. You. Self-worth is not something you wait to feel. It's something you earn. You earn it when you babysit for your friend, just so she can breathe. You earn it when you stay late to help a teammate succeed. You earn it when you show up early to prepare what others will benefit from. You earn it when you give your best with no audience, no credit, no reward. And slowly, your soul starts to whisper something different. I see you. You're solid. You're dangerous. You're becoming something rare. The world is full of empty confidence, people puffing their chests and faking smiles. But when the pressure hits, they break, because they've built nothing underneath. You're building something unshakable, through effort, through sweat, through unseen service. And when your time comes to rise, no one will question if you deserve it, because you won't have to prove it. You'll radiate it. So if you're feeling low, if your confidence is cracked, if your sense of worth is flickering in the dark, don't retreat, don't beg, don't numb it. Rebuild it, brick by brick, deed by deed, service by service. Help someone, lift something, show up early, stay later, give when no one asks, love when it's hard, act when it's uncomfortable. And the result isn't just that you'll be respected, isn't just that you'll be rewarded. It's that you'll look in the mirror, finally, and say, I trust this person. I built this strength. I am proud of who I've become. And that quiet pride, that internal fire, that's where real confidence begins. Not outside of you, but within, forged by effort, sharpened by service, unshakable, because now you know who you are. And no one, not doubt, not failure, not rejection, can ever take that from you again. Let's cut through the noise. You're not entitled to success. You're not owed recognition. And you sure as hell don't deserve loyalty just because you show up. In this brutal, blood-hungry world, you are either indispensable or forgettable. There is no in-between. So the question isn't, am I good enough? It's, will they remember me when I'm not around? If the answer is no, you've already failed. Because the truth is this: no one respects the replaceable. No one fears the forgettable. No one promotes the mediocre. But the one who becomes impossible to ignore. The one who does what others refuse to. The one who goes the extra mile, again and again, without complaint, without fanfare, without need for validation. That one becomes irreplaceable. You don't get there by talent alone. You don't get there by being nice. You don't get there by being loud. You get there by doing what breaks most people, by going beyond what's required until it becomes who you are, by taking such extreme ownership that no one else could possibly fill your shoes. You want to be unshakable in your position? Then make it so they'd have to hire 5 people to do what you do alone. Make it so they don't just prefer you, they need you. Because when your presence increases their peace, their profit, their power, they'll fight to keep you. They'll move mountains to elevate you. They'll wonder how they ever functioned without you. That's not luck. That's dominance. But make no mistake, this level of impact doesn't come from showing up once in a while with energy. It comes from relentless consistency. It comes from saying, all right, I will deliver value every damn time, whether I feel like it or not. I will master the details no one sees. I will solve the problems no one mentions. I will support the people no one acknowledges. That is how you become indispensable. And the reward? More than money, more than titles, more than praise. It's power, quiet, immovable power, the kind they can't strip away, the kind that makes you untouchable in a world that devours weakness. But understand this: if you gripe as you give, if you complain while serving, if you poison your actions with resentment, you've lost the game. Because attitude is half the war. You don't just do more. You do it with fire. You do it with pride. You do it because you know what it's doing to you on the inside. Forging steel, building character, crafting legend. And while others are calculating how little they can give, you're becoming the storm they'll never see coming. Yes, it's exhausting. Yes, it's unfair. Yes, you'll be overlooked before you're recognized. But that's the initiation. That's the filter. That's the price of becoming unforgettable. You bleed in silence before they praise you in public. You grow in isolation before they crown you in front of crowds. You burn your old self to the ground before they see the phoenix. And by the time they realize who you are, it's already too late. You've already taken the territory. You've already made yourself essential. You've already built leverage that no one can touch. So if you're still trying to fit in, to not do too much, to just do your job, then stay where you are, in the pile of the forgettable, in the wasteland of average, in the company of those who will never be missed. But if you want to rise, to be the one they call when everything's on fire, to be the one they never question, to be the one whose absence feels like a crisis, then earn it, bleed for it, sacrifice for it. Be the one who goes further, lasts longer, and delivers more than anyone ever expected. That's how you win. Not just today, but forever. Because when you become that person, you don't chase opportunity. It chases you. And when the world finally comes knocking, asking why you've risen so high, you won't have to say a word. They'll already know. You earned it. Mile after ruthless mile. Look around you. Not at your phone. Not at the screen. Look at the world. The mountains. The rivers. The forests. The endless cycle of life. Do you see hesitation? Do you see laziness? Do you see anything that survives by doing the bare minimum? No. Because nature doesn't tolerate mediocrity. And she doesn't give mercy to those who don't give more. The eagle doesn't glide to survive. It climbs. It dives. It strikes. The lion doesn't stroll through the savannah hoping for scraps. It stalks. It pounces. It bleeds. Even the ant, so small you'd crush it without a thought, will work tirelessly, carry 20 times its own weight, and build empires beneath your feet. Why? Because in nature, survival is earned, and comfort is death. You think you're above that law? You think just because you wear shoes and talk in meetings and swipe cards that you're exempt? You're not. Nature is watching, and she still demands more. More effort, more sacrifice, more intention, every single day. Let me tell you something vicious and true. You were not designed for comfort. You were not built for shortcuts. You were born under the same rules as every beast in the jungle. You eat after you hunt. You rise after you bleed. You thrive after you serve. And if you're not serving, if you're not giving more than what's expected, if you're not growing beyond your obligations, then you're already dying. Slowly, quietly, pathetically, because nature doesn't reward the average. She devours them. You want to tap into your primal power, then align with the laws that created you. Give more than you're paid for. Serve without applause. Act without orders. Sacrifice without waiting to be asked. Just like the soil gives more than one seed. Just like the ocean gives more than one wave. Just like the sun rises every single day, even when no one looks up to see it. Go the extra mile, not for man, but for life itself. And understand this. The reason most people fail isn't because they're weak. It's because they're unnatural. They violate the laws of life. They take more than they give. They expect harvests from fields they never watered. They pray for success while sleeping through the work. But nature doesn't listen to your prayers. She listens to your discipline. She watches your sweat. She answers your persistence. And her rewards? They're savage in scale. She gives back not just what you gave, but multiplied. She returns your efforts as abundance, but only when you earn it. You don't have to look far to see how nature honors the principle of going the extra mile. Look at the tree. It doesn't just produce enough fruit to survive. It produces in excess for the birds, the wind, the animals, the insects. Look at the bee. It doesn't get honey until it fertilizes the flowers. It has to serve before it's fed. That's the deal. That's the law. And you? You want honey without the flight. You want abundance without contribution. You want survival without service. No, it doesn't work that way. Not in nature, not in life, not in anything real. So burn this into your bones. You were put here to give first, to work first, to serve first, to pour your blood into the ground long before the flowers bloom. And if you refuse, if you turn your back on this sacred law, then don't cry when life turns its back on you. Because the truth is brutal. If you do less than you're capable of, nature will find a way to replace you with someone more relentless, more devoted, more in tune with the rhythm of the grind. But if you live this law, if you give more than you take, if you move with honor, endurance, and a hunger to outserve the world, Then, nature will fight for you. Doors will open. Favor will follow. And strength, real strength, will wrap itself around you like armor forged by the universe itself. So ask yourself right now, are you aligned with the laws that created you? Or are you drifting, decaying, wasting the life force you've been given? Because nature doesn't care about your excuses. She only asks one question. Did you go far enough? Did you give enough? Did you earn your place among the living? And if your answer is anything less than yes, then you know what must be done. Start today. Move. Serve. Give. Earn your right to rise. Let's get one thing straight. The path to greatness is long, unfair, lonely, and soaked in silence. There will be no parades for you, no medals, no crowd cheering when you go the extra mile. In fact, most won't even notice. You'll bleed for people who forget your name. You'll give your best and watch lesser men get ahead. You'll plant seeds and stare at dirt for years. And the trap, the one that destroys millions, is this. They stop because the reward didn't come fast enough. Because they thought the universe worked like a vending machine. Push a little, get a prize. Work a week, expect a raise. Do something right once and wait for applause. But the truth, you're not in a casino. You're in a crucible. And the reward doesn't come when you want it. It comes when you've earned it. You want more from life? Then learn to endure the echo. The gap between cause and effect. Between what you give and what you get. Because life doesn't pay instantly. It watches. It waits. And it tests your resolve like a sadistic beast. Will you keep going when no one claps? Will you give more when you're already empty? Will you push forward when nothing around you says it's working? That is the test. That is the toll. And only those willing to pay in advance, without guarantees, ever cross into power. You want to live like few ever will? Then be ready to suffer like few ever can. Be ready to do the work that doesn't pay today. Be ready to go the extra mile, with no receipt. Because here's the law that separates the immortal from the irrelevant. If you serve only when it benefits you, you're not building a legacy. You're playing a game. And the game is rigged. But if you serve because that's who you are, if you give without needing to see the return, if you plant knowing the harvest may feed someone else first, then you've tapped into something eternal. Then the law of compensation begins to tilt in your favor. And when it comes back hard. It comes back suddenly. It comes back uncontainable. But only after the trial. Only after the long night. Only after the world has tried to break you and failed. So let them say it's not working. Let them say you're wasting your time. Let them mock your long hours and your invisible victories. Because while they need rewards to act, you act because it's who you are. You serve, not for recognition, but for reputation. You push, not for attention, but for transformation. You give, not to be praised, but to become something so solid, so unstoppable, that reward becomes inevitable. Because here's what they don't understand. You're not doing this for now. You're doing this forever. And forever doesn't pay by the hour. Forever pays in legacy, in power, in freedom, in peace of mind. All the things they'll never have because they quit too early. So here's your choice. You can chase instant comfort, quick wins, fleeting dopamine hits. Or you can choose the grind that gives nothing today, but everything tomorrow. You can plant the seeds that take years to grow and feast for a lifetime. You can walk through the shadows with blistered feet and tired lungs and still whisper, "I will not stop," even if the reward never comes, because I know it always does. Let them quit. Let them beg for validation. Let them cry because the world didn't pay them fast enough. You'll keep showing up. Keep grinding. Keep bleeding on the altar of the unseen. And one day, when they finally wake up to see your name in lights, your hands full, your heart on fire, they'll wonder how you did it. And you'll smile, quietly, because the answer is simple. I kept going, long after everyone else stopped. That's the secret. That's the path. That's the price. And now, you either pay it or be forgotten by those who did. Now you know. Not the fantasy version of success. Not the Instagram highlight reel, but the real path. The one carved through blood, sweat, silence, and sacrifice. You've heard the truths most run from. That humility is the foundation of all power, because without it, your rise becomes your fall. That going the extra mile isn't an option. It's a law, a demand from the universe that separates warriors from the herd. That the law of increasing returns is always watching, magnifying every seed you plant, whether bitter or blessed. That your attitude, not your talent, is what makes or breaks your future. That every act of extra service doesn't just change the world, it rewires your own soul, forging strength from selflessness. That when you're trapped, when you're desperate, when you don't know what to do, help someone else and watch the doors open in your own life. That self-worth is not something you wait for. It's something you earn through relentless effort and unseen service. That you don't become valuable by shouting your worth. You become indispensable by doing what others won't and doing it with honor. And finally, that nature itself demands more. She rewards those who give more than they're required to, and punishes those who take without giving. And if you can endure, if you can give with no audience, if you can serve with no spotlight, if you can bleed without asking when the reward will come, then you will rise. Not because the world handed you anything, but because you aligned yourself with the oldest truths and paid the price no one else was willing to. This is the path, and it is brutal, but it is also worthy. Now ask yourself, will you walk it, or will you watch someone else become what you could have been? The choice is yours. The time is now. Go the extra mile, and don't stop until the earth itself remembers your name.